This video is a topic that I don't like talking about because it makes me kind of sad, but the reality is that this is the truth. Hello there, people of the internet. How is everybody doing? I'm doing all right. Thanks for asking. I'm going to start off by saying I am definitely a battle rifle kind of guy. I like rifles that shoot big honking rounds at very good velocities. I like rifles, say, chambered in 308, 30-06, 8mm Mauser, 7.5 French. I like full powered rifles. That is just the nature of the game, of the things that I enjoy. I like 303 British, I like 7.62 by 54R. I try to stay away from magnums and whatnot because that's a lot of power going downrange. But anyway, there has been a lot of times where I'll talk about the pros and cons of a particular cartridge, and I get a lot of people who tell me that they rock a battle rifle over something like, say, a 5.56 in an effort to turn cover into concealment. And I definitely 110% understand the premise behind this with, say, a 308 battle rifle or maybe a 30-06 battle rifle or something along those lines. The likelihood of being able to punch through something with a round like a 30-06 as opposed to a 5.56 is significantly higher. Or at least it's supposed to be significantly higher. As much as I hate to say it, the reality is that a 5.56 round, like what I have loaded up right here, a 5.56 round, if we have a 55 grain full metal jacket, or even better, a green tip M855 round that has an actual steel penetrator inside of it, these rounds are, especially with the velocities that they're getting out of a full-length barrel, they are quite good at punching through stuff. As a matter of fact, there are certain kinds of body armor that are rated for black tip 30-06, where that black tip 30-06 will not go through that body armor, where just a regular lead core 55 grain round from a 20 or even sometimes an 18-inch barrel will be able to punch through that armor. If you don't believe me, look it up. YouTube it. That is a legitimate, true claim. There's video evidence of little 55 grain rounds punching through body armor that a black tip 30-06 would normally not be able to punch through. One of my favorite reference videos for this particular topic is In Range. Whenever he did that, he did a bunch of different testing with them, and it's a channel to watch. But even if we are talking about things that are not body armor, if we have a 5.56 round, even if we're talking about the lead core or the green tip rounds, both of those right there, even though they lack mass, the number of things out there that say a 308 round from a battle rifle can punch through that a 5.56 round cannot punch through, there's not very many things out there. The 5.56 round, yes, it might take 2 or 3 rounds to punch through, say, a cinder block, or to punch through a brick wall, or to punch through, I don't know, whatever the heck it is that we're shooting at here. It might take a couple more rounds for that 5.56 round to be able to punch through whatever target it is that we're talking about here. But as far as the 5.56 round goes, you're rocking anywhere from like 50 to 80% more ammunition on your kit simply because it is lighter weight. So you have significantly more ammunition to be able to do whatever job it is that you're looking to do in comparison to carrying that same amount of weight in 308 ammunition. And you can punch through most of the things that 308 can punch through. Might take 2 rounds, might take 3 rounds, where the 308 might just take 1. But the reality is, there's just not much concealment out there, or there's not much cover out there that can be turned into concealment by 5.56, well, by 308, and not have it get penetrated by 5.56. The way I see it is, if you can't punch through whatever it is that you're shooting at with 5.56, you're probably not going to be able to punch through it with 308 or even 30-06, as a matter of fact. Now, on top of that, I want to go ahead and acknowledge that 5.56, most of the rounds that people shoot at a 5.56 are full metal jacket. That's just what has become the normal and the most abundant version of this ammunition that is out there. Full metal jacket of some kind, normally 55 and 62 grain, Full Metal Jackets, like M193 or M855 style ammunition. That's what most people go for. Versus your 308 rounds, where most of the time, if people are shooting 308, yes, I will acknowledge that this is the gun community I'm talking to, and so as a result of the gun community, this might not be the case among the people that I'm currently speaking with, but with the average person, most people firing 308 rounds are going to be firing soft tip ammunition of some kind. And that soft tip round is going to be significantly less effective at punching through cinder blocks or brick walls or, I don't know, refrigerators, your mother-in-law, who knows what it is that you're shooting at. The likelihood of those 308 rounds punching through that thing, but a 5.56 cannot punch through that thing, the reality is that it just doesn't exist. A 5.56 can make it through a brick wall. Now, it might take 2 or 3 shots, but it can make it through a brick wall. The 5.56 can make it through cinder block. I've destroyed plenty of cinder blocks with 5.56 on this particular channel. The 5.56 can make it through a fair amount of wood, especially if we're using a longer barrel. The 5.56 can do a good number of things. Now, the 308 can do it, and probably do it slightly more effective, but just because the 308 can do it in, say, 1, maybe 2 shots versus the 5.56 in 2, maybe 3 shots, the 5.56 can still do that particular job. Now, if we are really concerned about turning cover into concealment, there are certain kinds of ammunition out there that would lend itself better than both 308 and 5.56, whether we're talking soft points or Full Metal Jacket rounds. And we're going to kind of double back to the 30-06. Those black tip 30-06 rounds, those are no joke. Those are designed for punching through stuff. Those have a tungsten core inside of them. A lot of people will say it's a steel core, but it's not. It's a tungsten core inside those black tip rounds, and they are very good at punching through stuff. I've made videos on my channel about me punching through steel and punching through concrete and punching through all sorts of stuff with those black tip rounds, and they seem to be able to get the job done and do the job pretty gosh darn effectively in comparison to just Full Metal Jacket rounds. So I am going to say that your round definitely matters if you have a particular thing that you have to punch through. Like, for example, if we have to punch through, say, an engine block, having a 308 round with a bunch of mass is a good way to go, but having, like, say, black tip ammo loaded into a 308 case versus a 308 soft point, that soft point probably won't perform very well, but those black tip rounds, those might do pretty gosh darn well. Or even the 5.56 rounds. If you had a magazine full of green tip, that's probably going to do some damage to that ammo bay versus having a magazine full of, say, 40 grain soft points or fragmenting ammo or something like that, which would be significantly less effective at punching through that engine block. So your bullet type definitely does matter with what it is that we're talking about here and what it is we're actually trying to do here. But having the right bullet loaded into whatever cartridge it is that you decide to go ahead and go with, if we're talking about an apples to apples comparison, like say tungsten core 5.56 versus tungsten core 308 or 30-06, they're both going to be roughly the same spec. 30-06 probably push it a little bit faster, but they're both going to be roughly the same spec. Well, if we're talking about soft point 223 versus soft point 308 or Full Metal Jacket 223 versus Full Metal Jacket 308, there's very, very little that the 308 can do in terms of punching through things that the 5.56 cannot. And that's just how things are. That's the reality of the situation. The 5.56 is designed to be super effective from velocity. And velocity is how you punch through things. Now, if you have a 5.56 and say a super short barrel, like a 10-inch barrel or something like that, to where you don't get the velocity necessary to make 5.56 effective, then you might have some difficulty punching through things. But the 5.56 was designed around that 55 grain bullet, moving from a 20-inch barrel at about 3,200 approximately feet per second. And at that velocity, dude, you can punch through a lot of stuff. The 308 round or the M80 ball round, that's going to be a 147 grain bullet, so pretty much 3 times the mass. and it's going to be moving about 27 to 2,800 feet per second, depending on, again, barrel length, manufacturer, country of origin, etc., etc. So that's significantly slower than that very fast moving 55 grain bullet. Now the 308 has more mass, so in theory that extra mass should mean that bullet holds itself together better than the much lighter weight, much smaller mass 5.56 round. That 308 should hold itself together better while it punches through whatever it is that it's punching through, but that lowered velocity definitely hinders it. I like, as far as penetration goes, I would say they're pretty much neck and neck with what most people would come across in the real world. I'm sure that if we went out and we started testing certain things that this round would be better at punching through than this round, like the M80 ball versus M193 ball, then we would find certain things that 5.56 is better at punching through, like, say, body armor, or better things that, say, 308 would be better at punching through, like maybe water jugs. Maybe that extra mass would make it punch through more water. I mean, I don't know. I've never actually tested that particular test before, but I do know that they are both quite effective at punching through most of the things that we would encounter in a real life situation, like, for example, cinder block walls or concrete or mud walls. That's one that I hear very often. If you have 3-foot Afghan mud walls, then I don't care what it is that you have something short of an anti-material round, it's not going to go through there. You're not getting through that with conventional small arms fire. Okay, I think I've pretty much beat this topic to death. Thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below is a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off. Have yourself a fantastic day. I'll see you on the next episode.
Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. The poor man's Garen. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.